Ocean Story is with you, and I have new stories that touch me. My wife's son began to hate me after I could not satisfy his request. My wife Vivian married me 4 years ago and has a son of her own, Parker, who is now 13 years old. I do not have the best relationship with Parker because I am his stepfather. He gets along much better with my son Caden, who is 16. My son's story is a bit complicated and has some unpleasant moments. Caden does not have many friends and is not very sociable. Caden's mother, my ex-wife, left us when Caden was 2 years old. Since then, I have raised him alone with the support of my parents. My wife left me because she found a more promising guy. She left without leaving any method of communication. Caden was too young to remember it, but it was very difficult for me. My son is happy to be friends with Parker, even though their relationship is a bit strange. In the end, I don't really get involved in Parker's life because it's hard for us to communicate with each other. But this does not prevent us from having a good family. I work at a university as a teacher, and my wife works as a computer assistant. Our income is not the highest, but we can afford all the things we need and to go on vacation to the countryside several times. Vivian and I try to evaluate our children equally and not say that one of the boys is better. If I go to watch football at the stadium, I always take Parker and Caden with me. Or if Caden got a nice gift for a holiday, then Parker gets something important for himself. But this year was a little different from previous holidays. We celebrated Thanksgiving at my aunt's house. Kaylee has always loved children, especially my own son. Because of his difficult childhood, she always said that growing up without your own mom is very difficult. So Kaylee always tried to pay a lot of attention to Caden. She didn't pay attention to some of the rules we had with Vivian and gave Caden whatever she thought was right for her. These gifts were always not some cool thing to say, that they were better than a gift from Parker. We came to celebrate Thanksgiving with the whole family. My aunt was very happy to see us and quickly called us to the table. At the party, Kaylee happily announced that we could give presents to those we had planned. She personally went to Parker first and gave him a small box. She gave him a card to one of the sports stores with a check for $300. And for my son Caden, my aunt gave him a beautiful ticker that cost $2,000. It was very shocking for me because I know a lot about watches and I know the cost of such models. Caden was very happy and proudly put the watch on his left hand. He spent the whole evening looking at the new watch, and whenever anyone asked him what time it was, Caden would tell them to the exact second. I was so happy that Kaylee made such a cool gift for my son. After the party, I sincerely thanked her for her generosity. I could not afford such a gift for my son, except for his wedding. Kaylee said she did it from the bottom of her heart and wanted Caden to feel important in the world. When my stepson found out about the difference in the gift he received with Caden, Parker, he threw a tantrum and said that it was very unfair that he received a $300 gift to a sports store, even though he doesn't really like sports, and his brother Caden got a cool watch for $2,000. Parker blamed me for this for several days and demanded that I'd buy him something else to make it fair. I refused him because the gift was not mine, and I did not know about such an expensive gift right away. Parker did not believe me and started saying that I loved my own son more than him. Parker went to his mom and asked her to talk to me. Vivian started talking to me and asked not to let Caden wear the watch in front of Parker and not to annoy him with it. I told her that I would not forbid my son to wear his gift, but I will try to influence Caden a little bit. It was very uncomfortable for me to talk to my son about this topic, but I did it for Vivian's sake. My son listened to my request and did not take the watch off for a second. I did not force Caden to do what I wanted him to do. After all, this is a gift for him and I have no right to take the watch away from Caden. Now my wife is angry with me because I did not put pressure on my son. I make her son feel very humiliated. I tried to talk to Parker, but he didn't want to accept that Kaylee was giving the gift to Caden without my knowledge. Moreover, it was done for a reason, to make Caden feel important, because at 16 years old, Caden has almost no friends and is having a hard time. Despite this, Parker still resents me. Vivian keeps telling me to put pressure on my son. I don't think I should do that. By doing so, I will ruin my relationship with my son. Is it my fault that Parker can't accept the fact that the gift was not just to show off Caden's coolness, My Aunt Kaylee told me to leave my son alone and leave him alone. I don't know what I can do to make this situation go away. Sophie, you're clearly doing something wrong by getting between your wife Vivian and her son Parker, and also your son Caden. It's clear that your Aunt Kaylee just wanted to make your son happy by giving such a generous gift to Caden, but it has unintentionally created some tension in your family. I don't think it's your aunt's fault that Parker is feeling this way. It's understandable that you don't want to put pressure on your son or destroy your relationship with him. But at the same time, I think it's important to recognize Parker's feelings and reassure him that your love for him will not be affected by the gifts. Perhaps you can have a heart-to-heart with Parker. Explain that the gift was unexpected and was not something you knew about in advance. Let him know that you love him and Caden equally, that material gifts do not define your affection, and they cannot be an indicator of love for someone. Your stepson is too young to understand this properly, but you should try. Miles, when it comes to Vivian, it's very important to talk to her calmly and openly. Talk about your approach to parenting and how you think it's important. Not to put too much pressure on Caden about the clock. Try to find common ground and solutions that work for both of you. In addressing Parker's concerns without pushing Caden away, ultimately, this is a difficult situation, but one that can be resolved with honest communication and understanding. On the part of all parties involved, you will be able to resolve it together as a family. Remember that it is very important to maintain a strong relationship with both your stepson and with your biological son, and not to let this incident drag a wedge between you. Your wife is having this reaction because she is a mother to Parker. Vivian wants the best for her son, so she may be too emotional in the conversation. Of course, I don't hold anyone to blame in this situation. Everyone can be understood. It's important that you all get along and don't fight over things like this. I hate it when someone singles out children, but this story is not about that at all. I think your wife's son is a little egomaniac who doesn't know how to be happy for others. You should teach him that, because his behavior is disgusting. A story that really surprised me. I married a girl named Brielle at a very old age. After my wife died, I had to live alone for 15 years. My son stopped living with me when he left for college. Now he has moved to another city and works as an electronic engineer. I married Brielle 7 years ago, and we lived in my house. I'm not in my 20s anymore, and I don't have as much energy as I used to. Moreover, I have a mild disability that makes it difficult to work physically for long periods of time. My wife Brielle is 4 years older than me and has children of her own. Madeline is the oldest and she is 27 years old. Jason is 22 years old. My wife's children have their own families and rarely come to see us. Brielle is physically active all the time. Even though she is 59 years old, she has been working at the hair salon since we met. I work for my neighbor and mow his lawn twice a month. This money is enough for us to live a normal old life. My wife earned more money because I got injured a few years before we met. My son also rarely came to visit me, which is a bit of a shame for me. Over the years of our family life with Brielle, I began to notice strange things about her. We went to the hospital and it turned out that my wife now has the early stages of Parkinson's disease. For those who don't know what this disease is, it is a disease that affects the central nervous system. The main symptom of Parkinson's disease is loss of control over movements. At first, there were no problems with this, but when Brielle started smashing dishes in the house over and over again, saying she couldn't control it, it became clear to me that something was wrong with her. Unfortunately, this disease is almost impossible to cure. In addition to this, sometimes a person cannot even say anything because they cannot control their lips or tongue. For the first 6 months, I tried to help my wife, but I realized that it was very difficult. And almost all the time Brielle needed some kind of help. It was very upsetting to see your once loved one become so helpless. Moreover, I also have certain issues and it was difficult for me to take care of Brielle. The only right thing to do was to ask my wife's children to help me take care of Brielle. However, Madeline and Jason refused to come several times a week, saying that they had personal important things to do. 2 more months passed and something had to be done. I called Madeline and told her, since you or your brother can't come to take care of your mom, the best solution would be to take Brielle to a special care facility where she will be able to receive professional care and no one will have any problems. Moreover, Each of us will be able to travel at a convenient time and visit Brielle." To which Madeline reacted very harshly and said, "You are a man for my mother, so you have to look after her until the very end of her life." I explained to Madeline that I was getting a bit old for that, and it was difficult for me to physically help my wife. She didn't want to hear me and said, I was talking nonsense and didn't want to fulfill my responsibilities to Brielle. I was upset that she thought that about me. Madeline told her brother Jason about our conversation. He was not happy with what I said either. Jason called me and told that I had lived with his mom for so long and that I should take care of her. I told him that I was injured and it was hard for me to move around, let alone take care of someone. Jason sympathized with me, but he did not agree to take Brielle to the right facility. The case was not resolved for a long time because Madeline and Jason did not give their consent. Without their decision, I couldn't do anything. My wife said she wouldn't mind, but that was not enough because her children were rebelling. They said my behavior was disgusting and I wanted to get rid of Brielle as a toy. Madeline is especially angry with me because she has never really liked me. The whole situation was cornered and there was no way out. Brielle's children did not give me permission and treated me badly. They told the whole family about it, making me out to be a tyrant. My wife's brother could not help me with the custody, but he advised me to find special training so that I would know how to behave with my wife. Because Brielle is not sick with any terrible diseases, and I only need to take care of her physically. Even though I listened to him, Brielle's kids still think I'm a freak for wanting to get rid of their mom. Of course it wasn't true. I just wanted Brielle to have good care and have a good life. I think a lot of people would want the same for their loved ones who are sick with something. Liam, I can't even begin to imagine how difficult this must be for you. It is clear that you are trying to do your best to provide the best care for Brielle. Despite your own limitations, it is unfortunate that her children do not fully understand your situation. You are doing a responsible thing by seeking professional help for her. Hopefully, over time, they will come to understand your genuine concern for Brielle's well-being, because I don't think you did anything wrong. It's not like people want to get rid of their loved ones due to fortuitous circumstances. Sometimes caring for someone can be like that. Maybe Madeline and Jason are having a hard time accepting the fact that their mom is no longer going to be living in the house. That's why they react so harshly to everything. But they should have thought about it earlier when you asked for help. Emma, I can see that you are in a difficult position, but I must say that it is very important to fulfill your responsibilities towards Brielle, especially considering that you married her. Seeking professional help is the right thing to do, but I think you need to put in more effort to convince her children to participate in this process. After all, this is their mother. It might be worth considering family counseling to resolve conflicts and find a better solution. Because I understand your problem perfectly, I'm sure you wouldn't mind if someone helped you. Madeline and Jason should show more compassion for you and your wife. It shouldn't be your concern alone. Your wife's children should be more involved, not just judgmental. Noah, personally, I would have stayed with my wife to the end despite all the problems. I don't know why the author starts saying that he can't be with Brielle. Maybe he really doesn't want to have problems, and Brielle's children are right about him. My next story. 8 years ago, my grandfather left behind an inheritance of about $1 million for my entire family. I have my sister Piper, who is 2 years older than me. I was 2 years away from graduating from university when my grandfather died. After his death, my mom and stepdad said my sister and I would not receive all the inheritance money at once because we are still very young and we will most likely spend the money on all kinds of things. Mom told Piper and me, you will receive a few $1,000s every month until you turn 30. I was not very happy about this, but it was actually not such a bad decision for us. Now, I'm 24 years old and I have a boyfriend, Jose, who is a year older than me. Jose and I have never discussed my inheritance because we both have jobs and don't feel the need for finances. Jose works as a journalist and I work as a body care specialist. Some time ago, Jose and I had a conflict over my money. It all started when my boyfriend's parents were celebrating their wedding anniversary. Mr. Jameson and Mrs. Lydia were celebrating 20 years of marriage. I decided that this was a big date and I should have given him something important. Jose once told me that his parents had never been on vacation by the sea or ocean, so they spent their entire lives raising their children. All their spare money went to educate Josie and his sister and brother. It became clear to me that my boyfriend's parents deserved a good vacation for everything they did for their children. I talked to Jose and told him that I wanted to buy tickets to the ocean for his parents. Jose didn't mind, but he was worried about the money that would be needed to pay for everything. I told him that money would not be a problem. Jose did not understand, but did not ask too many questions about it. I told my dad that I wanted to take $7,000 from my account to pay for the gift for my boyfriend's parents. My dad gave me permission to take the money. So when I told Jose that I had the right amount, he was surprised because he didn't believe it existed and that I could take that kind of money. Jose started to worry if I had borrowed money from my friends for his parents. I told him that everything was fine and I had no debts. At least I managed not to tell everyone about my heritage, but my boyfriend began to treat me carefully. 2 months later, we were buying a house for ourselves. We had a plan to buy a house with a large area and 2 floors. The price of such a house was a little over $400,000. Jose and I had a considerable amount of money to buy the house, but we didn't have the whole share to buy it in one payment. I decided to add my own money so as not to prolong the issue of renting a house. My parents did not refuse me and gave me the sum of $150,000 to buy the house. It was a huge event for my family. Everyone was happy that Jose and I had our own big house at such a young age. My boyfriend was very happy that we had such a house, but Jose was worried about how I was able to take such a large sum of money in 1 week. I told him that my parents helped me to buy our house, and I also took money from my bank account to pay most of it. Jose asked me how much money I had taken from my bank account. I had to tell him that the whole amount we needed was in my bank account the whole time. Jose was very surprised by this information because we've been together for more than 5 years and no one had ever told him that I had such a large inheritance from my grandfather. For Jose, my story was very strange. He did not want to talk to me because I seemed to be hiding such important information from him. By doing so, I expressed my distrust of him. Jose asked me more than once why I didn't tell him about my inheritance from my grandfather. I explained to him that all the money I had was not available to me all the time, but Jose was worried about the fact that I was hiding my true financial situation from him. I didn't want to tell my boyfriend about money because it didn't make much sense. I wouldn't get another share for a very long time anyway. The story about my inheritance damaged my relationship with Jose so much that for a week he was very cold to me and didn't want to talk to me. I got tired of it, and one evening Jose and I talked because Jose had told his close relatives about my money, saying that I had been hiding it from him. We sat in the kitchen with Jose and talked about it. I was very angry with him because Jose didn't keep my secret. My boyfriend said that I could have told him about my inheritance even though it was blocked, and it didn't create any complicated relationship between us. I explained to Jose why I didn't want to talk about the money. Jose said, because you didn't talk about it. I started to think that you were borrowing money without my knowledge and making us indebted. Jose and I started to fight a lot. He accused me of lying to him. Jose said that I never tried to do anything good for him, although I could have bought new tires for our car when he didn't have the money. Eventually, my boyfriend started saying that I could pay for all our needs myself. I really didn't like that and didn't want to talk to Jose anymore. My husband started telling me almost every day about all the occasions when I could pay for something and not cause us problems. I realized that we are building a family together with Jose. It doesn't mean that one of us has to pay for everything. I had a strong desire to leave Jose and never see him again because of his greed and thirst for money. For the past 2 weeks, Jose has been talking about my money. My sister Piper said that I should leave Jose and forget everything like a bad dream. I'm a little confused and don't know what to do. I have love for Jose, but I don't want to tolerate his words towards me and his thirst for my money. I feel like Jose only wants money from me. Maybe I should leave him, but is that the right thing to do? Alexa, it sounds like you have a pretty difficult situation. I can understand why you didn't want to share information about the inheritance, especially if you were afraid it would change your relationship with Jose. It's a shame that he found out in a way that made him feel like you were hiding something important from him. It's important to have trust and open communication in a relationship. It sounds like this has caused a lot of tension between the two of you. Your sister is right, and you should leave your husband. Just because you hid your wealth from Jose doesn't mean you don't love him. How would your family life be different if Jose knew about your money? I think he is just hurt that he could not take your money and spend it as he pleases. You have to run far away from such assholes and not think only about your feelings. When you get the full amount, Jose will start demanding money from you. Run away, my friend. Leonardo, on the one hand, it's understandable that Jose might have doubts or questions about your financial situation, but it's not fair to constantly pressure you and make it seem like you have to cover all the expenses. A healthy relationship involves both partners contributing and supporting each other, and you've been investing in your relationship with Jose. You paid for Jose's parents to go on vacation. Isn't that enough for him? I think you've done a lot of good things for Jose and your relationship. It's his problem that he has trouble appreciating other people's good deeds. Adding $150,000 to the purchase of a house is a lot of money, but it's not enough for Jose. Just get rid of the bastard and let him earn his own money. Josephine, I condemn your boyfriend's actions. He should learn some manners and be more polite, even if Jose is your husband. That doesn't give him the right to extort money from you. Let him earn more if he needs the money so badly. Now I want to tell a different story. This year we celebrated Easter at my close friend Emery's house. I have been friends with her for 13 years since high school. Emery has two twin sisters who are 11 years old. Emery and I are now 28 years old. My friend's family has strict rules about holidays and gifts. Emery's mother, Miss Julia, does not allow giving her children anything expensive or too valuable. She thinks it spoils the children and makes them spoiled. I have a good job, and together with my boyfriend Bryson, we earn our living. It is not a problem for us to make a nice gift for someone once a year. This time, Bryson and I decided to make nice gifts for my friend's sisters. One day I went to my friend's house and talked to Delilah and Ariana. The girls told me that they would really like to have at least some modern phones. I understand their desire perfectly because all children nowadays have phones. In my opinion, this is not a bad thing and helps children learn what they like from an early age. Miss Julia is strongly against this and says that her girls will get their first modern phones when they are 15. Julia believes that children's access to phones spoils their ability to learn. And thanks to phones, children learn a lot of things they shouldn't know at the age of 11. That's why the Emery family is very strict with gifts. The maximum you can give is clothes or some toys. I consulted Bryson about a gift for the girls. We decided that we would not give them very cool phones, but they would be modern enough for girls. We managed to buy 2 iPhones, which were released in 2018. The party started in the evening, and there were many guests from the Emery family. Everyone started giving gifts after we had dinner. Delilah and Ariana received different things, or diaries for personal notes. Emery gave her friends 2 sets of sportswear. Then it was my turn with Bryson to give gifts. We got 2 small boxes for the girls. Miss Julia was with the girls at the time and helped them unpack the gifts. When they tore off the gift wrapping paper, the girls saw 2 boxes with phones in them. Delilah and Ariana were very excited and rushed to hug me and Bryson. The girls were very happy and tears were in their eyes. I was very happy that Bryson and I were able to give valuable gifts to the girls. Julia's smile immediately disappeared when she saw the gift for her daughters. The party continued and all the guests were surprised by our gift to Bryson and me because everyone knew Julia's request perfectly well and no one gave similar gifts. During the whole evening, Julia kept looking at me and my boyfriend. During the holiday, Emery came up to me and thanked me for the gift for her sisters. She also added that her mom was clearly not happy with our gift. I realized that Bryson and I would have to have a conversation after the party. That's exactly what happened when we wanted to go home. Miss Julia came up to us and asked to speak to us alone. In 1 second, she turned from a nice woman to an angry and resentful woman. Julia screamed at Bryson and me for setting her up and giving Delilah and Ariana phones to spite her ban. I tried to give Julia a rationale for why we did it and how it would benefit her daughters. But Julia did not want to hear anything and continued to scold us. In the end, she said, "Because you didn't listen to me, I will have to take away my little girls' phones." I was very angry with Julia because she just wanted to take the gifts for her daughters. I managed to persuade her to give Delilah and Ariana the phones at least for a few hours on weekends. However, Julia was very angry with me and my boyfriend because in her opinion, we did something useful and wanted to be different from everyone else and gave forbidden gifts for her daughters. Julia said if there was anything she didn't like about her daughter's behavior, after we gave them the phones, she would tell us. Then she would give the phones back to us. I do not consider Julia's actions to be correct. It's too much to not allow your children to use phones even on weekends. Axel, it's clear that you and Bryson had good intentions. You wanted to make Delilah and Ariana happy with thoughtful gifts. It's a shame Miss Julia had such strict rules about gifts, especially when it came to such ordinary things as children's phones. I realize it was a shock for her to see such valuable gifts at the party, given her beliefs. But for me, I don't see anything wrong with kids having personal phones at 11 years old. The world is a little different now, and children can use their phones, not only to communicate, but also to fulfill themselves. My friend's son started filming his own blog when he was 12, and in 2 years, he had 50,000 subscribers on YouTube. My friend's son is making interesting contacts and has even appeared in a commercial once. That's why I fully support children having phones. Of course, if they use them for personal development. Julia perceives modernity as evil, but not everything is bad. Everett, Amory's gratitude shows that she appreciates your gesture. I'm sure the girls were thrilled with the iPhones. It's hard when there is such a difference in views on parenting and gift giving in a family. On the one hand, parents want to protect their children, so they follow the rules that they think are the best, but on the other hand, you were just trying to bring joy to the twins. Ms. Julia's reaction seems a bit extreme, especially the threat to take away the phones completely. Perhaps you and Bryson should talk to her calmly and respectfully. Explain your intentions and try to find a compromise that respects her parenting values while still allowing the girls to use the gifts responsibly. I think it would be possible to reach an agreement with her despite her strict attitude. To be honest, I'm not a big fan of giving children cell phones, but even for me, this behavior from Julia is not very understandable. I wish you to resolve this conflict and keep your nerves. It is always difficult to find a common language with parents of young children. Next story. My girlfriend Olivia married me 2 to 4 years ago. We have 2 children together, and we each had children before we got married. My son William is 8 years old. He is a ballet dancer and looks good. William wears a nice hairstyle and has to take care of his appearance. Olivia has 2 children, a boy and a girl, aged 9 and 7. In total, there are 5 children in our family, which is a lot. Because of the number of children in the family, I have 2 jobs and work every day except Sunday. My parents sometimes come to my house to help me with all the chores. My youngest son is only 2 years old, and Olivia is busy with him. The problem is not even that Olivia and I have a lot of children. It's that it's not possible to pay much attention to all of them. I really wanted to spend more time with my family, but physically it's not possible at the moment. Olivia has nothing to do and is raising children. My son William also lives with his own mother Ava. She takes great care of William when he is with her. My ex often scolds me for not taking as good care of my son as she does. Ava doesn't realize that I have 5 children in my family, while she has William and her own daughter of 5. It's easy for her to judge me and why I'm not doing well. This week was no exception, and we had a big fight with Ava. It all started when she came to pick up William at her place on Sunday. It was the last day of the week with my son for me. On Friday, William had a performance and got his suit dirty. I forgot about it, and my wife didn't have time to wash the suit. When Ava brought her son home and they started unpacking, she saw the dirt on William's suit. My son told her that the dirt was left over from the last performance, and no one had washed it. Ava called me furiously and started yelling at me for not keeping an eye on my son all the time. Ava said, "In the last 2 months, you have let William bring dirty things in 4 times, or not look after him properly. I explained to my ex-wife that I had a very busy week, so I forgot to remind Olivia to wash my son's suit. Ava said, "If you make that kind of mistake again, I will go to court and ask them to stop you from taking care of William." I started to tell her that it was pointless to do that because I had forgotten to put William's clothes in the washing machine several times. Ava continued to threaten me with divorce from my son. She said I was an asshole who didn't care about his own son. Ava said, "I will do everything possible to make sure you don't have custody of William anymore." I think her reaction is too strong because I didn't have time to wash our son's clothes several times. After all, William always had food and clothes. This is very important for children. I guess I am an asshole after all. Although my close friend said that these reasons were not enough to deprive me of custody of William. After that, I spoke to Ava several times, but she continued to stand her ground and denied any prospect of my improvement in this situation. Even my mom tried to talk to Ava, but that didn't work either. I think my ex knows very little about raising 5 children at the same time. That's why she allows herself to make such statements about me. James, dude, you're trying to justify the fact that you've taken in a bunch of kids, and now you can't take care of them all. If you once took responsibility for so many people, be a man and take care of them all. Why did you have so many children in the first place if you can't be there for them? You worked 2 jobs and had only 1 day off. You definitely don't have time for children on your 1 day off. Either you change something in your life, or you will simply lose custody of your son William. Even if your ex doesn't want to understand you, Ava has every reason to want you to no longer have custody of William. Whether you like it or not, it's the truth. Isabella, I am so sorry to hear that you are going through such a difficult time with Ava and dealing with the challenges of raising a blended family with 5 children. It is obvious that you care very much about your son William, and it is unfair for Ava to threaten you over something as small as a dirty suit. However, I think it's important to remember that being a parent, especially in a blended family with multiple children, is incredibly challenging, and it's normal for mistakes or forgetfulness to happen sometimes. Your intention to provide and care for your children is obvious. It's a shame that Ava doesn't understand the complexity of your situation. I would suggest that you try to have a calm and open conversation with Ava about the challenges you face in raising 5 children. Perhaps there is room for compromise or understanding on both sides. Alternatively, if you feel it is necessary, you can seek legal advice to protect your parental rights, especially if Ava continues to make threats about child custody. After all, to be deprived of paternity because of dirty clothes sounds very stupid. Your ex is overthinking this. She should be helping you, not adding to your problems. Oliver, your ex is not capable of rationally assessing the situation at all. You or your wife have been busy all week and had important things to do that justify William's clothes being dirty. If Ava doesn't like something, let her sit with the 5 children for a few days. I think she will quickly realize her guilt towards you. I understand how hard it is for you right now. I hope everything will be fine.